Hey guys, and welcome back to Leo Gaming. Today I am doing a review on Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the Xbox Series X. I managed to pick one up on day one, so I'm very lucky to have that console. So yep, this is a review for Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the Xbox Series X. So basically the game is about a group of Vikings. You play as one character, Ivor. You can either be male or female, so Ivor can be both. Depending on your preference, and you start off in Norway in a very snowy region, mountainous region, where you have to defeat sort of your first bad guy. It's more of a sort of tutorial area, I would say, of the game. And once you've done that, you then have to move over to England, where the Viking group, the Raven clan, try to set up and establish themselves over in England. So yeah, I've managed to get 35 hours plus on the game. So you know, I feel like I'm ready for a decent enough review now. So to start off with, I'm going to start off with the graphics and visuals, obviously because it's on the new Series X console. So, and I must admit, it's absolutely stunning. I absolutely love the visuals and the graphics on this game. You could definitely tell the upgrade. With me, more so because I never had an Xbox One X. I only had an Xbox One S. So for me, the step up is massive because obviously now I've got a new 4K telly and the Series X. So now the upgrade is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Ubisoft are always brilliant at doing open world visuals. It looks amazing. You've got ray tracing as well, so the lighting effects are absolutely brilliant, especially as you sort of, you know, going through the woods and the lighting comes through the tree branches and bounces off the water. It looks absolutely fantastic. Again, Ubisoft have done water to a T. I always say this, but Ubisoft do water the best. I know it's only a minor thing, but it's surprising how much, if water's not done well in a game, it breaks immersion for me. But Ubisoft always managed to do water to a T, including the effects, the way it moves, the way it looks, the colour of it, the lighting of it. It just always seems to be really well done. The environment itself is very sort of Witcher-esque like. So if you played The Witcher, it will seem quite familiar. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of games that when they do the Viking era, especially in England, it's going to look like The Witcher. But that's just because that was how it looked in that sort of era, and this is Ubisoft's version of it, or the Assassin's Creed Valhalla version of it, and it looks stunning. I will be honest, it looks absolutely stunning. You know, it's like I say, to me, it just feels like a really big upgrade. So I can't comment on the Xbox One version because I haven't played that, but this visually looks fantastic. In terms of performance, I've noticed a massive improvement in performance. Just everything feels so smooth. Everything is so smooth now. It's even as far as something that's so small as to getting on your horse. You know, when you call your horse and you jump on it straight away and the camera pans around. With Origins and Odyssey on the old console, it would stutter a little bit. The transition is so smooth. To combat, there's no juttering or stuttering. I've not noticed any stuttering at all. For me, it's absolutely fantastic. I think that's brilliant. But then that's the power of the Series X. That's what it gives you. I can't tell you frame rates because I'm not a tech expert, but I've got a gist enough about frame rates to sort of understand that it's probably a high frame rate, 60 frames per second or a little bit below. And the performance is brilliant. In terms of combat, the combat, I actually like the combat. I hear a lot of people, YouTubers, saying that the combat's crap. I don't have any problems with it. I mean, what are you expecting from Vikings? Like, I never get this. The combat to me, you get your usual weapons, but you get light attack, heavy attack. You get some ability moves that you get, like you can rush the enemy and slam them to the ground. You can stomp on them, which is a very common one. The stomping one seems to be quite repetitive. I will give them that. But, you know, I think the combat's brilliant. You get a range of enemies. You can lock onto a target if you want. You don't have to lock onto a target, which I generally don't unless it's a big boss. I generally sort of thrash around and go for one enemy, take him down, move on to the next. But the satisfaction you get from the defeating the enemies, the sound effects with this one, I find the sound effects are done really, really well. You know, they're very emphasized, especially when you get the little cinematic finishing moves. Like if you fight an enemy and you hit him a few times and he's coming to low health, he'll kneel down, and you get like a stun move, or you've stunned him and then you get a stun finish. So you do the stun finish, and the best one, I absolutely love this one, is where you get this enemy who's got a couple of axes, and he's a fast-paced enemy. I can't remember what he's called, but he swings at you really quickly. Once you get him to a point where you can finish him, your character will then pick up his axes, slice them a few times really quickly, kick him away, and then lob the two axes flying through the air, and the camera pans with the axes, and it goes whoop. And the sound effects you can hear when it hits the enemy, the two axes that fly and hit the enemy, absolutely fantastic. I love that one. But again, I always find there's never really anything wrong with the combat. I can't really put. I haven't sat there playing it thinking, oh, this is rubbish on the combat. This is rubbish. The only thing I will say is the repetitiveness of the stomp. When you get an enemy to the ground, you're stomping a lot. You can find sometimes if you're doing a raid and there's several of the enemies on the ground, you can do about 4 stomps in a row. So I think that is a bit overused, but I never understand what some people expect from the combat. I mean, at the end of the day, they're Vikings. They weren't somersaulting or doing ninja flips to kill their enemies. They're slashing around with their axes and their weapons and their swords. You know, they're not. I never understand what people expect from combat. It's not a ninja game. You know, it's supposed to be a Viking. But that's how it is. So next, moving on to the story. The story so far, I think, is brilliant. I think it's fantastic. I'm finding the story quite immersive, to be honest. A few dull parts, but it seems to be quite entertaining at the moment. I think I'm hitting the middle ground at the minute, where the story does sort of null out a bit, and you sort of know what you got to do. And there's not many twists and turns, but I think what keeps the story immersive is the fact that you get these little side quests. They're not like the usual side quests, the crap side quests that you used to get in Origins and Odyssey, where you're darting about all over the world for some crappy errand. This one, you're actually in a more localized side quest, so you'll come across a random NPC, and he'll just suddenly speak to you. You speak to him, and it'll be, one of the things I had was I come across these 2 farmers that are arguing all the time over this silo in the middle of their farms. And you talk to them a little bit. And the good thing about these side quests is they're localized, so you're not traveling all over the place. They're within the area of where they are. And what I had to do is basically you talk to both of them, you find out what's going on. And then one of them will come out with a hint. You don't get told what to do, but you have to sort of work it out yourself on these little mini quests. So one of them, they were talking, they was like, oh, we just need to get rid of this. One of them was like, or one of their wives was saying, oh, we just need to get rid of this silo. So then what I did is I took a flaming arrow, shot it at the silo and blew it up. Afterwards, mission completed, they're all thanking me. Yeah, so you don't get told that. It's just you got to listen to what they're saying, and you got to work it out. And that's the same with most of the little mini quests, and they are more random. They do feel more natural. They feel like you're traversing the world, and you just come across a little mini side quest, which is so much better than the older games, I think, personally. So yeah, side quests are really good. In terms of what else is there? You get traversing the world itself, exploration. You get a lot of things. It's a bit better this time. The exploration feels so much better. I feel like I want to explore more because you're not getting symbols all over your screen. Well, you are, but they're not really, and they're not symbols, and it's not telling you. It's not just a silly question mark. You get it's color coded now, so you get 3 colors. One's wealth, one's mysteries, one's artifacts, but you don't know what it is until you get there. So when you go to a synchronized point, you'll get these little laser lights that come up, different color laser lights that come up out of the world. And basically you have to go and travel to area and find out what it is. And it just feels more I don't know whether it's the world itself. I think doing England, because the same as The Witcher, I think doing that sort of environment like The Witcher and the English countryside back in the day, I just think is so much more better to explore. Whereas Odyssey and Origins, the problem is Origins is a lot of open desert. Odyssey is a lot of mountainous desert type stuff, tropical, and it's very open. Whereas English countryside is always quite. You got a lot of wooded areas. You got a mixture of it all, really. And I think it just makes it more exciting, which is why I think The Witcher did well. I just think the English countryside environment is naturally a better environment for exploration than any other. Just because of the variation you get in that environment. And there's also points on the map that and supplies from doing raids. Now raids are all good. They are good things to do, but I just find there aren't enough of them. I'm struggling to get raw materials. You get a ton of supplies, but raw materials are so hard to come by. Like, they don't give you enough raw materials or raids to do. When you do a raid, you only get about 60 raw materials, and it costs about 45 raw materials to build up one of your buildings. And it's just really annoying. So you're generally getting one building done every sort of 4 to 5 hours. Because again, there aren't enough raids, and when you do the raids, you can do them in two types of way. You can go in all out using your longhorn and doing a raid with from your longboat, where you blow your horn and all you all charge in and start defeating the enemy. Or you can do it the way I like to do it, which is stealthily. So you go in first, take out pretty much 3/4 of the enemies, and then when you come to, because when you have to get the raw materials from the chests, you need one of your men to help you open the doors. So what I do is I take out 3/4 of the enemy. When I get to one of those doors, I then blow my horn to start the raid and get my men in, and then you can gain the raw materials and complete the raid. So you still can, when people say, oh, Assassin's Creed's losing its stealth, it ain't. I just think you can still use stealth, which I do most of the time. You just need to be better at it. I think with the old Assassin's Creed, it was gifted to you being stealthy, but you have to be better at it. And they do give you the tools in the environment to be stealthy. So I don't think that's an excuse, personally, when people say, oh, it's lost its stealth. It hasn't. It just depends how you want to play it, So, yeah, I do think you still can stealth the game. And I do a lot. The main story obviously is the Vikings, but you do get the Assassin's Creed story element into it. They've added a thing called they've got the Order of the Ancients, which I actually think is more of an end game, because I've killed a few of them. You get a load of these men, like the typical old school Assassin's Creed, where it's a load of people in power you've got to kill because they're part of the Order of the Ancients, which is basically the Templars, and you've got to kill them. Find out information on them and kill them. The old classic Assassin's Creed storylines. But the problem is you don't find out much information. You can only gain the clues to where they are via the main story. So I think you've got to complete the main story and get all the clues before you can actually go and kill them. Which probably, to me, I just think that's more of an end game. I think they've actually designed that as an end game. So don't expect to go out and kill all the Order of Ancients before you've even completed the main story, because it ain't going to happen. I think they've done that as like an end game thing, which is good, because then it gives you something to do at the end. It's like a purpose at the end of the story. So I still think that's good, and that's their sort of Assassin's Creed take on it. I do think Assassin's Creed needed to move away from the old way. Like, it was good at those old Assassin's Creed were good for the time, but it needed to move forward. And I think the way it's gone is for the better. You get a lot of people saying, oh no, the old ones were better, blah, 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 blah. But, right, you take Valhalla, you take away the Viking storyline, you take away strip everything out and keep just the Order of the Ancients, the assassins, the killing, then it's a pretty bare bones game, really, isn't it? You've got to think of modern games now. You need that sort of RPG element, I think, to make it more realistic. And you also got to remember is the old Assassin's Creed games, they were sort of almost like dedicated assassins. In reality, they wouldn't be that. If there was an old Assassin's Creed ancient sect or whatever, they would still have their own families. Not like the first game where Altair was, he was just an assassin. He had no life. I don't think in reality it would be like that. They would still have, wives, children, things like that. And I think you know, they would still be people like Vikings or Romans or, you know, Greek people. You know, I just think that's how it would have been. So I think the way they've gone with the Assassin's Creed games is a lot better, and Valhalla is just improving upon that. What else is there? Enemy AI, a bit dumb sometimes, but then this will all be patched out, I would imagine, as the game goes forward. A few bugs where, you know, the horse tries to run through a wall or gets stuck on the top of a building somehow. There's little things like that. There's a few little glitches and bugs. Although there is one thing I thought the game was glitching out, is you get these little I can't remember what they're called, animus glitches or whatever. And basically in the distance you'll see like a tree like sort of keeps, you know, glitching basically. And I thought, oh, don't tell me the game's like that already. Run over to it. It's not. It's actually just part of the gameplay. You need to do it, and you get like these extra little missions in like a sort of fantasy world type thing. It's quite good, but I actually thought the Xbox, the Series X, was actually glitching out on me. I thought, no. But yeah, that's just how it was. So yeah, the game, like I say, the game is, you know, it's very good. I would give it a massive thumbs up myself. It is based in England, so, you know, expect a lot of different English names which you probably won't recognise because they're actually called different. Like Norwich is called Northwick, Leicester is called Leicester, Nottinghamshire is called Snottinghamshire. So, you know, some of the names back then were quite funny actually, but, you know, that's how it was. But I would give the game a massive thumbs up. For the Xbox One version, I can't say, so don't use this for this review for the Xbox One version because I don't know how it performs on there. So this is for Series X users, and obviously, you know, Xbox One users can still use it to sort of, you know, get a gist of the game, but don't use it for making a conscious decision on buying the game because I don't know how it performs on the Xbox One. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much.